Hey guys, hello everyone, and welcome. I'm Jeneth Blackert,
And I'm Leonka Reina.
and this is the How Hustle Morning Show. Today we have two very special guests, Rocio and Angel, and we are talking about their newest creation, the Orchid.
Yay.
And I tell you, it keeps like serendipitously showing up in my life, and I'll share a story in just a minute in the morning woo brew.
Yay.
But
Yeah.
but first, we just want to welcome you. Happy Thursday, happy upcoming Easter. I think
Passover.
it's Passover. It's no surprise that we are talking all about the one Easter flower, the show before Easter. So I am really excited to dive into everything in just a minute. All right. Do you want to start with a little morning brew?
With woo. Okay, we can go there.
Okay.
Morning brew with woo, y'all.
So in my morning brew today, we are going to talk about the how things show up in your lives and the signs that things show up.
Yeah.
And I tell you, like I just said, this book kept showing up around me, and I've been actively trying to read every single night. And I like these like juicy chick litty novels.
Yeah.
If you've read my book, you know that I'm into novels. And so I have this book about this woman that goes to a funeral, and she meets a ghost, and the ghost starts talking to her, and she's like, "You can't cremate me. I need my necklace," right? And I hit a page, and there was this little tiny bookmark in the page of that book, and it said orchid, like the 3 steps that they need to like actually grow your orchid.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? I now need to put that book down and go to
Is that a sign, y'all? Is that a sign? How do you even respond to signs sometimes, right?
Oh my gosh, right? Because it's a very juicy book. And I'm like, well, okay, so just for tonight, let's go check it out. So I started the book and went in a very linear fashion. I made about this far through. And then when that happened, I said, I'm just going to pick up the book and go to a spot in the book. And I went right here where it was talking all about connecting to your chakras and passing your hands over your body, which is kind of similar to some of the work I do. It's not specific like chakras. It's more I just follow the energy. And then Olivia, who is the one that's being asked by Ronnie here, and she's like, chakras represent an integral energy centers, and it's like chakras are meat and wheels, and this, that, and the other, and exactly what we just talked about on an earlier show.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, what? Well, thank you, universe. I get that those chakras are still important to us in this modern day time and moving into that modern goddess. So that's just kind of a little bit of synchronicity in my life, and I thought I would share that with you guys.
Oh, and a shameless plug, we do have a way to clear your chakras and open your chakras via its frequencies. And it's just $27, but it really for all seven, it's 7 hours. And I just played it this morning as I did my meditation. I had it by my ear, and it was the root chakra, and those are the very deeper tones.
I was playing those audios when that happened.
Nice.
I play these frequencies while I read books because they don't have a meditation or a sound. It literally is just a frequency. So that's it kind of gives you some background sounds while you can dive into other realms. But what I get about the book, and as I went into chakras, then they like walk her through like all the different chakras. It's almost as if, and we can talk to them in a minute and ask them, almost as if they were actually doing the work as they were writing it in more of a fifth dimensional field.
Yeah, I get this since that's the case too.
It's a pretty book.
But before we jump into that, we always like to do a little bit of mystic space weather news. And today we've got some really interesting space weather news for the past 24 hours, and this comes to us from NOAA via spaceweather.com, the Earth's magnetic field has been reverberating from the impact of a CME on April 15th. It was a cannibal, that's what they call it, CME. So it did an extra good job of sparking some geomagnetic storms for a brief time on April 16th. The storm became severe, so a category G4, with northern lights sighted as far south as France. Isn't that interesting? So if you've been seeing those auroras and different pictures coming through all over the US, that is why. The storm is subsiding now to a category G1, G2, which still could produce high latitude auroras through the 17th, through today. So if you, again, remember we talked about that CME that was coming with that 1-2 punch on Tuesday, that actually landed on around the 15th. So remember, that is what we are experiencing, those high frequency light photons that are just bathing the Earth right now. Know that that's the case, because I mean, Jennifer and I were both just talking here privately, and she's, using words that in her life that that I may not have heard her use, and I have been feeling some kind of way too. So just know that lots of stuff is coming up for you right now to finally be released, right? So it's a celebration. We get this opportunity to do those things.
Yay.
And we're going to dive really deep into transformation here with Rocio and Angel. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring them up.
Yes.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here with you, beautiful, amazing goddesses.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I have to know, like, this book is a piece of art, and the way that it seems, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it is very much that you guys met, you play in the field, you create through the field. And my guess is, as you wrote these chapters, it really was this outpouring of the love and the transformation that you have had along your journey, but mostly, this intimate connection and this dance. It is very much what comes through in the book. Do you want to talk a little bit, or where do you want to start? Let's just say, where do you want to start?
Well, let's start at the very beginning, which is thank you so much for having us, for sharing your space, your audience. We're beyond delighted. So thanks for that. And to dive right in, look, this came at a period of deep introspection for us. We were changing so much. We were looking for, I was looking for purpose. Rocio was looking for forgiveness. And once we found sort of a path, well, when she found a path, because really it started with her, we just went right in and started taking courses and reading books.
It's super important. In this case, a friend gave me this tip is, if you're gonna begin this path, do it with your husband at the same time, because if not, probably you're gonna separate, because you're gonna begin to really transform yourself. So at that case I came to him and says, like, I love you a lot. Why don't we do this together? And he was, okay, let's do it. So at one point, when that was a beautiful opportunity for both to grow at the same time. And after growing, after spending 1 year really living the book, what you were gonna read, we were saying, we need to share these tools with the world.
Of our sessions, we would come out, because we would do them separately, and they were digital and so on, but we would do them separately, and we would look at each other and we would say, is this for real? This lightness that we were experiencing in our lives that really was transformational. And I already consider myself a really happy-go-lucky type of person, right? But I felt like I was just flying, and I saw her change, and our marriage improved. And we've been married for 23 years now, 25 together. And then we saw people around us change, the people that were so immediate to us, like our teen daughters and my mom. And we said, this is unreal. No one would believe us if we tell them and they don't have context. So she's like, well, why don't we do a television show?
Oh, how fun.
Tell us about that.
Yes. So of course is because remember, ladies, is very important when you educate a mom, you can educate a household and then a community, and then goes beyond you don't have any stops there. So it was very important to really, in the book, to portray 5 women who they've been having a lot of challenge themselves.
Yeah.
But the book is 10% what happened to them and 90% how you can have different tools to really take all the knowledge with you and wear that and put it in practical way in your household.
And so the idea soon after she mentioned about the show became really, well, let's do it into this story. And let's not do a self-help book about us, because who are we? Right?
Yeah.
Who's gonna sit down and listen to us? But why don't we do a great story? Because humans have been listening to stories for thousands of years, right?
Sure. Yes.
And so that's how it began. And you were right, Jennifer. We were experiencing this. And really the first attempt at the book was me observing her.
Wow.
Because even though we were going through the changes, I did not have the words to speak about what was happening in me. And maybe that's a man thing, I didn't have it. I couldn't feel it. She would say, where do you feel it? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And I said, well, where do you feel it? And she's like, oh my gosh, I feel it here. It's going off I feel it in my throat. And she gave me specific details of what she was experiencing. And that's what we were trying to capture in the book. And then it was a question of, well, let's capture as much as we can. And then was an issue of one person is not enough. Let's tell it in the voice of 5 women.
Yeah.
5 women. And then the 5 women was because we were having coffee in our kitchen and Rocio wakes up one day and she has dreams. And we say like she receives the messages and then I kind of expand on them and then we act on them together.
How fun.
Yes,
And
it's
the dream-
super fun.
And the dream was, it has to be about women. And at that moment, I look back at my life and I kid you not, in like 60 seconds, it was like, of course it has to. Because women, feminine force has been a really powerful presence in my life forever.
Yeah.
So, and that's how we got to writing the book.
Yeah.
I love how it's laid out. And
Yeah.
I said that it was kind of this 6 steps. It's like a 6-step journey. It's a journey through awareness, a journey through gratitude, forgiveness, acceptance, intention, and then ultimately the connection of oneness.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed when I was reading it, so I did it via audiobook, is that not only is it some of these things that we're talking about all the time on this show, right? We have tons of different speakers, but I was able to, and so I had it on while I'm listening, and we were doing this flooring, right? And my husband and I had to get this flooring done because we had guests coming, but we really just needed to get it done. So I'm thinking, okay, so we're pulling almost like very late into the evening. But while I was listening to this, audiobook, again, it's all the things that we're talking about. And sometimes we glaze over, right? Like, I mean, you hear these concepts and sometimes they start to just be topical, like they don't really get into you. What I loved about the characters is that I could find myself self-identifying with a lot of their feelings, like the insecurity. Yes. No, I was not that, but the insecurities or I've got to make it all work and I've been striving and as they're having these experiences and removing limiting beliefs, I could not even, I was just like happy-go-lucky working, right? Like doing the flooring. And so it helped move the time. So it's super entertaining, but it also really permeates the soul. And how did y'all really get to that point where you're writing? Was it an experience where you're writing with so much passion that it keeps the audience so engaged?
Hi. Well, at the end, remember, this is our first attempt. Really, is the first time we do a book, and it's incredible. We have both an extensive career in television. So, of course, we know TV, but we didn't know how to write. So at the beginning, you try to do your attempt to really be the most honest part, to go inside of how raw has been life for each person, right?
Yeah.
And at one point is how you can give really tools to someone to heal the soul. Is that was the co-working together and really discussed every word of the text.
And you know, the formula, it's really simple. Yes, there's a lot of things happening around us, and there's a lot of teachers and masters that bring you information and bring you these little tidbits, these little pieces of this puzzle of your life. And you choose to look at it or you don't, right? And maybe you just put it aside and you're like, I'll get to it later, because frankly, it is later you need to deal with that, not now. The job of what we found, our job, was really to create a space of love.
Yeah.
And that's what the orchid is. The orchid is a container of love, no judgment. We read the book like 14 times just to make sure that we took out any word that was any judgment in there, because at the end, these are experiences.
Yeah. It
And
comes
then-
across that way too.
Yeah, and then just create a space for you to go inside of you, knowing that there's these tools, and especially 5 tools. This is why we call them the secret, right? Because they're so obvious. They're in front of us. Awareness, gratitude, forgiveness, acceptance, and intention. Who knew? And just by touching them, by accessing them, by putting them into practice, you start to liberate yourself a little bit. You start taking these layers of clothing that have just, opaque your life. And that's the orchid. The orchid is really allowing you a moment to go inside and little by little take out those, spines that are hurting you somewhere. And that the moment you do, you're like,
you're like another point of view freed.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was for 30 years looking the tools, really.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important, the novel, because in the novel, we implement the tools through the characters. So and the best part is because you are seeing the 5 characters to use them, to write a letter, how they do it, the reader or the listener can have inspiration about how other people think and how you can implement these tools, because at one point they come and say, let it go. And it's, yeah, how? So that's the journey that they took during 7 days in this amazing spa.
By the way, she's talking about me. When she would come and ask me, well, how do you forgive? I'm like, I don't know, just let it go. Because I have no
Yeah, I think it's easier for men to forgive in a way, unless it's something that's been done to their daughter. I think it's pretty easy. It seems easier for men to forgive than women. We like to hoard and hide things.
Either that or they just don't let
Or
us
maybe
know.
we learn. Yeah, maybe, I feel like lately it's not a big deal, but when I was younger, oh my gosh. Like, I'm going to hate you forever.
And that starts at a very young age.
Yes.
Yes. I was talking with we have nieces over right now, and she was talking about, being that age at like 10, and she was like, oh, and it was so bad. We had a revenge plan, and I'm thinking, oi,
Yeah.
like a revenge plan at 10. But it really makes you think about really how we start to have these pre-programmed ideas of what it is to operate in our society and amongst our peers. And if this is the norm, then imagine how much the word is, blind, just hidden ways in which that we don't really look at how we are being and how we're passing judgment, but they hide from us. And I always say these things are very insidious, and we can sit there and say, I'm not prejudiced, or I'm not, I don't harbor bad feelings for anyone. But when something comes up that really, it hits that spina, it really triggers that, oh, you'll know. But sometimes you're operating from a place that is so hidden that you don't even realize that you're orchestrating things with that hidden agenda. And it just stays blind from you.
Because you're operating, that is your operating
Correct.
system, it's your identity.
Yes, your modus operandi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
Well, if you want to respond, I go for it.
What we want to convey in the book is we've been conditioned for sure, but how we move from there in a place of a lot of love and understanding. And when you really understand that the people are doing the best they can with what they have, you begin to understand that at one point I'm trying to kill myself. When I was 20 years old, my mom just passed away. It was a lot of drama, a lot of things. And, no one knows what to do with somebody who has a very traumatic experience. They don't have words, they don't understand the pain, they don't understand nothing. And I didn't understand them for don't be able to help me. So today I understand that they didn't know better. Neither the people who was protecting, doing the punishment or doing the abuse or doing something was probably they were abused. And this is so important that we begin to have this conversation. Your space is very important for people to listen that they are not alone. And we have ways to begin to think in a different way.
Well, I'm kind of curious if you'll take us back on your personal healing journeys with either that trauma and some other things. I know that the writing of the book was a part of the journey, but I kind of get that you're Mary, and I from the book, and I kind of get that you knew, and you've seen the changes before you wrote the book. So can you talk to us a little bit about some of the profound experiences that you've had where you've really woken up to become more of you, for lack of a better word?
Look, the only thing that I can tell you is I choose a very difficult life and a complicated family, right? I choose to be able to be today here and say, you know what? I didn't have the perfect family. I saw my mom very depressed and she passed away and died. And how my father was abusing her. And I saw all that, plus when I was totally alone, that I need to take care of myself and no one was to protect me or surround me or nothing. So what I was doing is what I can tell somebody today is do the small thing, because that is what makes the change right now. Is to be in the now and not to try to be in the past, because when you are in survival mood, that everything is really murky, difficult, heavy, is like you are choking, really. At that point, look, I can talk today without a hinge of pain, because I've been working towards be today here. And how you work, we put it in the book. That's why the book is the book that I wish I have in my darkest moment.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And the book that I wish my mom has because at one point, 30 years ago, no one was in Mexico talking about this kind of tools. So we are really lucky right now to anyone who is listening or watching us to see that you are not alone, feels super difficult, but if you are there to take one small step per day, per moment, you begin to see your life and be able to do changes.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, what happened 5 seconds ago doesn't define you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or what happened in the past doesn't define you. Yeah.
Yes.
It was really interesting for the two of us to experience it together because it gave us such a perspective, two extremes. In my case, I was, for example, I suffered sexual abuse when I was a child, 8, 9, 10. I don't recall exactly the exact date. But by the time I turned 30, late 20s, early 30s, it had somehow had exited my body. Now I had forgotten it for a long period of time. And when I started remembering, it was through a weird dream that was reoccurring, like a giant looking through a window.
Wow.
Oh, cool. We just had a dream interpreter on.
No way.
Did you have a dream interpretation on this one?
No,
It's
ultimately.
traumatic.
I know. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. And ultimately, by the time I started talking more about it, which was to Rocio, the first person that I actually spoke to. So this was now 34 years old, 33 years old. It was better. I think that I used to be called two things: little fat boy when I was a kid,
Oh.
and crier, because I would always cry. I was crying. Still
Oh.
today, I'll just cry about everything. I believe I did a lot of crying, and I believe that the crying was a therapy that ultimately allowed me to have that energy exit my body.
Sure.
That I believe, because I keep asking myself, how did that happen? But the most important thing is that when I encounter these tools that she put into practice and I put into practice, it really dove deep into that, right? The writing, really journaling about experiences and saying, okay, I have this feeling that something that I need to let go of this. Once you, and that's why awareness is the first lesson, if you will, which is if you see it, you can do something about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
We just talked about that earlier.
Yeah. Well, and the way you do the awareness, like they go through writing and journaling and, really seeking it to bring it to the surface.
Yes.
And those were the tools that worked for us. Now, there may be
Sure.
many others for people, right? It could be that one day you're just walking and you see a sign on the street and it hits you and you have that vision that, oh my goodness, I just remembered or I know. So really, it's very personal, and which is what the book is really. It's our personal experience. But then once you see it, then you start doing the work if you want to, and that's
Yeah.
the choice.
Well,
And the work can
it's
come in
kind
somebody
of
else.
not a book necessarily to read either. It's almost like a book to do, because there's like
Yes.
places in here to,
They're both shaking their heads.
have like to do your gratitudes. I mean, it's really a book that it's like, come along, here's your healing experience.
Yes.
And I thought that was kind of
You know
sweet.
what happened? No everyone can have a lot of money or a lot of time to really begin to go deep in a process, in going to a retreat.
Sure.
So really the retreat is not outside of you, it's inside of you. You have the tools, you can do it. And if you have your friend or someone that you can share that experience, then you enrich the experience. So more and more, we are trying to provide really now the situation in the world, many people are struggling. So not everyone has the time. So if we can give them very soft, through storytelling, ideas and inspiration, people can take it and make them them.
That's the goal of the book.
Yes. And so when we talked in the pre-call, you explained that the book, it lives, and it also is creating a movement. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like you were right there. And I found that very interesting.
Yes, what we want to people to take with them is that they are powerful beyond
Believe.
beyond anything.
Yeah.
And really, the most important part is when you have your 5 bodies, okay? Your physical body, your mental, your inner child, your spiritual, and emotional. When you have the 5 of them aligned, instead of being like this, make them align. You have your thoughts, your words, your feeling, and your actions. You can create anything.
I believe that.
Yeah, well, that is coherence.
That is coherence.
Yes, in the different dimensions. And really, you can begin to remember the most important is the vibration. If
Yes.
people begins to understand how important for them is to stay in joy, happiness, really commitment, having this clarity to act, then everything around them change. So if we can, more people feel great about themselves and they understand how to really become in coherence and coherence, then nothing can stop us.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's what's happening. What's happening is that, and we're seeing men and women reading the book,
Nice.
internalizing these tools, and coming back to us and saying, I'm different. I'm different
Yeah.
because now I'm aware. I know I have the tools to heal myself, and I am being intentional about the life I am living. And it's like, wow. And so that's where the movement is really happening. And it's happening everywhere. And it's really interesting because we have people who've read the book a year ago. And of course, we know them. And we're like, they haven't said a word. What is it? And then all of a sudden they call one day and say, I need to talk to you. And you have no idea how the book has changed my life.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know. It's gosh, kind of reminds me of the White Lotus.
Yeah, like that.
The show.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Minus all the drama, like all the neg.
although
It does have its own,
although, like in this last one, I mean, everyone was set up to be shot, right? But this guy lost all his money and he went through the trauma of that. And then these 3 women are, kind of doing this like internal fight until they resolve that. And, it's like they do have all this trauma at this resort. It just happens to end in a death at the very end always.
Instead of
But,
oneness.
instead of oneness.
Right.
But I mean, it's kind of the journey of like, wow, what can happen even when you're put in a different environment,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And one of the people left from the retreat center, and it was kind of in this like full allowance, right? Like it's
no
like,
judgment.
Yeah, you get it when you get it, leave when you when you're not ready, but you're always welcome back.
Absolutely.
Kind of energy, right?
And it's really important what Mary, the founder of the place, tells everybody else at that moment, and is we do more for Jana. Jana was her name. She's the woman that left. We do more for Jana by sending her love, that by being concerned about the reason why she left.
Wow.
And so it was more about, let's use this time to send her love.
Oh, I love
which is
that.
the most powerful energy in the world, and let her come back when she's ready.
And that's that let them, right?
Yeah.
Let them go, let them be, let
It's
them.
like if you don't want to take the red pill, you don't have to take the red pill.
Because it's not.
Yes.
I mean, at a superficial level is, well, they don't want to. At a deep level, it could be their soul saying, we're not ready for this.
Yeah.
Yes.
there's something else that needs to happen for
Yes.
that piece of your puzzle to become clear.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense too. Yes.
Yeah, I
And so-
remember.
Yeah, go ahead.
Everyone's
I'd love to
journey is
hear more.
different.
I remember being at an actual retreat, and the facilitator was like, well, maybe now's not the time. And I'm like a 2-year-old, now's the time.
Right.
But I
It
do
was the
think
time for you.
it was time for me. But,
Right.
you know, I mean, I still even had to be pushed right up to that last question before I made the choice to say, okay, something's changing with this. Well, so I would like to talk about, I'm getting excited here, and the
I see
mic's
this.
gonna drop, you know, the hands start flying. I'm Italian, so it's like,
Me too. I have Italian in me, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
right? But I would like to, if you could, I wonder, take one of the stories and walk, you know, the audience through what, you know, what are some of the transformational steps that happen when people come back? I mean, I read the testimonials on various Amazon and other channels, and they're really good. And but I'm kind of wondering, what are some of the great stories that you're hearing back where they've walked through, they started journaling, they started meditating, they did tarot. Like, what are some of the beautiful stories that you've heard from the book?
From the
And
testimonials,
maybe share it in a transformational way so the audience can kind of see how it might shift their life.
Well, has been really profound. Remember, everyone is in different levels. Somebody said to us, was a band-aid for my soul. So I remember having a draw that I put all the things that I don't want to think about it. I read the book, and after I find out that draw doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
Mhm.
That
That's
was
a big one.
incredible. That's a big one. No, it's many.
There's a young lady, she's 24, and she read the book and she went to a Reiki session. She just said, I'm just curious. And she came back and said, something shifted. And she's like, and now I want to go to a sound bowl session.
Now,
Right?
yes.
So it's what we've observed is that openness, that willingness to try something different that maybe at times, because it's been called so many different things across millennia, people have been afraid of it. People are often afraid too of their own power.
Yes.
And because we've been taught that, you know, that the power is external and everything else. And so that was a shift. And she would tell us that for her, it was like a baby step, but it felt like a gigantic step in her life. So sometimes it has been the permission to try new things. Another woman was basically explaining how, in fact, journaling became a regular practice for her, simply just journaling, and that little by little gave her insights into her life that she didn't realize.
Another, at one point, is like no one talked to me the way I talk to me. And thanks to the book, I saw what was the limiting beliefs. And I begin to talk to myself in a fantastic way. For first time.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yes.
Can you give us a couple of examples of what that might sound like?
Yes, for example, I'm insecure, I cannot do this, my accent is terrible, how is possible that I'm gonna do it? And at one point, after really working with yourself in the mirror, you begin to have, for example, the first time that I did the mirror exercise that is in the book, I was crying after 20 times because I never say to me, I love you.
Wow.
I love you, I love you. So now is an acceptance of who I am, the body that I have, the situation that where I am. So now it's like look, the wrinkle. Look, okay, I can do it. If remember, is this inner thought that I've been doing to myself that in a way that I never before. So it's beautiful to say, you can do it. Go. And in the moment I change, my two daughters, teenagers, they begin to see the change. And instead of, because we were a victim, remember, I was in a victim 100%. So now my two kids, they speak to them better too. Yes.
There's, for example, we recently did an online session with a group of people, and we did a simple exercise and on the lines of that. And the exercise was really to speak to ourselves. So we closed our eyes. Each person had to do it on their own so that it wasn't everybody at the same time. And it was, Angel, I just want to thank you for always being with me, for, oh my gosh, being present. Sometimes I didn't like the things that you did. And, I think I need to forgive you, and I hope you forgive myself. And that type of conversation with yourself, we're so quick to say, oh, I'm so stupid out loud, or I'm so silly, or how could I screw that up? Oh, I'm such an idiot. Those are powerful words. And sometimes very consciously taking the time to say the opposite. I am cool. I appreciate me. I realize that don't always do the right things, but
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. No one learns through.
Those exercises are really important.
Well, it builds that
Absolutely.
courageous muscle too,
Yes.
where you're willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do.
Or just didn't know to do.
Assuming English is your second language, it's Angel. I mean, and the writing, you could not tell. I mean, the English is so good. I don't even know that I ever stumbled upon a typo, and I'm like the navigator for them.
Well, aside from,
so it was really well written.
Oh, thank you. But we must be honest, aside from being bilingual, we're also extremely professional and perfectionist. So there were obviously other people that we brought along because we already knew how, for example, the entertainment industry works.
Yes.
When they say, let's do a show and they have a showrunner, there's a room of people sitting around that person supporting. So we were, we knew we needed to do that. And so it was important. We even got a poet to go through the book.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about the journey for investing in such a, was the fear might have come up. You're talking about writing a book for the very first time.
Yes.
You're talking about writing a book about concepts that some people in the mainstream may not be ready for, didn't know they were ready for. Let's just change that. And you had, you said you thought about the different language barriers, whatever those are. So to have a room full of people, those are investments, those are, investment, belief in yourself. Can we talk a little bit about that? Was there stuff that came up? How did you finally get through that, right? What did it take to get this going?
So is really is a challenge. Is in our school, okay? When I was living in Hong Kong, okay, at one point, we learned about, I don't know, jet. And that jet changed my life forever.
Yes.
Because when I was growing up,
Growth mindset.
is you need to know how to do everything perfect. That was my family. Of course, we didn't know, so we don't try.
Right.
Okay? In the moment that I begin to see that you can really have that mindset of growing, saying yes, going out of your comfort zone every day, that was something that took me out of my depression 30 years ago. without me knowing. So I was already having a growth mindset, like I'm gonna try, I'm gonna do it. So I was doing the small steps, okay? The first thing that I did, I remember, was to put my right foot on out of the bed and say, today is gonna be a good day.
Nice.
Yeah. I
And
think
that's it. That was the smallest step that I took. From 30 years to now, I've been in Hong Kong, in London, in so many other places, looking how very successful people are doing it. And they are doing it because they try. They know that at one point can be super difficult, but they're going to have a feedback. And the feedback is going to come from the universe.
Yes.
The universe is gonna tell you. That's why today we are here trying to tell more people to go, try to do it. It's gonna be super scary.
Yes.
Okay? But you need to begin to try. And that going out of your comfort zone is when you grow. When you grow your wings to fly and do whatever you want. And remember, it's not a competition. What I want, what we want is totally different than all that what you want. So that mentality of scarcity is not real.
I love that.
The real thing is that when you feel better and you go out of the comfort zone and you begin to try and really have a support group that help you to go there, plus your connection with the divine, we are taking care of a win-win situation.
Mhm.
We were scared every day.
Yeah.
Every single day. There were days, how about those weeks that we didn't write anything because nothing would flow, you know?
Aye, right?
And what really helped was that we started to understand, and we were living it ourselves, and we understood that that fear is a vibration. And that if you start seeing it, oh, I am in fear today. Why? Oh, I watched the news yesterday and now I think the world is going to end because blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is. And if you start being very objective about that, yeah, okay, so I need to move from fear into acceptance, into neutrality. And if I can go to love and just move there, then great, then I'm going to raise that vibration. And then you start to understand that it's better to be angry than to be in shame, because anger is a little bit of a higher vibration than shame. So you start playing, but really ultimately you start surrendering to the fact, and this is really, really important, and I want everybody to listen carefully. You are so special, and you are not here in this world for any other reason than to show how special you are. And so allow yourself, and that special it may be the way you make coffee. It may be the way you speak to animals. It may be the fact that you are kind in some way. But we need to show ourselves at our greatest version, whatever that is. And it's like a ladder. You go a little bit and then you start going, and then all of a sudden you start looking and you see more. But the most important thing is that what you see really is the light inside of you. And as you do, the universe starts giving you messages. So those days that we were depressed or asking ourselves, I kid you not, there was one day we're like, this is crazy. We need to stop this.
No.
Yeah.
The phone rang 5 minutes later with someone that brought a message, and then we're crying and thanking God and the universe for reminding us that we needed to keep going.
It's incredible. It's now what I see it is like, oh my God, this is when you finally connect with love and joy, then everything begins to happen like the synchronicities. So remember, we put a talk about this. How important in the page.
Yes, I wanted to say something very quickly. I see that in the two of you.
Mm.
I see that in the chemistry that you have and the way you're speaking to your audience. That's the magic, right? Each one of you on your own, but together, explosive. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of when we find each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rocio
I
is
agree.
mentioning in the book in page 132, we have something that we call the spectrum of inner growth.
Here.
And essentially,
Yes.
it's the way in which we look at our own growth and the expansion of the human spirit. And you know, at the bottom of it, it's just the lower vibration. And it's worth mentioning that if you find yourself in survival mode right now, whoever you are, you know, focus, breathe, find friends, take a first step. But we understand that these things right now seem almost out of reach for that.
Sure.
And it makes sense. Take care of yourself first, because that's the most important thing. First, be safe, so on. But if once you find the time, then go up that steps and go into curiosity. Where does this come from? Are there things that I can do? Why are other people super happy or they seem happy? And I'm not talking Instagram happy. I'm talking
Yeah.
people around us that we know
Yes.
that, wow,
The real happy.
right? And that leads you to the next step, because after that comes the awareness that, okay, there's more. And then it's the knowledge of vibrations. Okay. So I can, through forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude, I can vibrate higher. I can claim back power.
Mm.
The Buddhists, for example, say that when we don't forgive, it's like walking around with a hot carbon, you know, in our hands, looking for that, waiting for that person to show up again and throw it at them so we can burn them.
Mm.
Is the only one that gets burned is you.
Yes.
But when you release it, you claim back your power. And
Yeah.
if you manage to get through all of these, and by the way, they're not linear, you go down, you go up, you could spend a few hours in shame and guilt, but then you realize, okay, I'm in shame and guilt, I need to get out of there.
Mhm.
It becomes a constant exercise.
Is the free will, the choose. And here, remember, we've been programmed to, at least myself, my culture, and many things, to think that I cannot change it. This is
Yes.
what you have, that's it. And then you begin to find out that you can change it. And it's like, oh my God, but this is
Yes.
better. Is I can have a lot of fun in right now. I can be creative. I can have a purpose. I can, you see, and really change all your human experience.
Mhm.
Question. One of the things that I heard you say on a different interview was the importance of laughter. Can you talk a little bit about how laughter actually can be healing?
Yes. Look, after, of course, a big process, you can begin to, I don't know, when you begin to find that everything happened for your highest good,
Mm.
for you to learn, you begin to laugh at the things. So the moment you feel that this is really advanced, that at one point that boyfriend who left you, but was better because it was not for you. But if you keep clinging to that story or everything, then you cannot really live your life freely. So our body, when we laugh and when we have joy and when we connect with that amazing energy, our vibration, our cellulars, everything, send that message to everything to experience. And
Mhm.
that experience begins to shift and change. So it's really important that you learn from your experience, but continue, pass, move along, because we came here to really enjoy our bodies, our relationship, our friendships, our life. And right now looks like it's very difficult. I don't want to laugh because I'm scared. What is this? And it's like, yes, but I don't know if you are there and to understand that it's an illusion. It's an illusion that we decide in which one we want to connect. We can connect to the horror movie, or we can connect with really possibilities, hope, understanding. And so that is where I choose. I'm very careful that where I put my energy. All my being doesn't go to see scary movies. Okay. I'm very careful of what I believe, of who's the person I listen to, or who I spend time, of if I want to buy the energy of someone who wants to suck my energy. So everything really affects. So it's important the music that you listen, what you're watching, the food that you are eating, the person who touched you, really your whole is very important. So if you begin to connect with laughter, all change. So I try to explain something very sophisticated in a very simple way.
Yeah.
So
There's been
Thank
documented
you.
cases where laughter heals cancer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
It's-
yeah,
it
it
really
changes
is
your
powerful.
epigenetics.
That's
Of
right.
course it does.
Yeah. But people don't know that. So I
I
love
know.
when you say, of course
Yeah.
it does. I'm like,
I know, well, we're in a different space.
right,
Uh,
right.
You know, it's funny because I grew up with a family that actually didn't laugh. And then when I
You said
was
that.
dating my husband way in the 90s, he was like, we're watching like a sitcom and he's like, why aren't you laughing? You know, and he just kept jabbing me. And then I would be like this like snarky snark, or he'd be like, you know,
Can't even
And-
imagine that.
right? Because I am like full blown
Yeah, you have big-
expressive
yeah,
now.
you have
In
big
fact,
belly
people
laughs.
come to me for like the comic relief.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's almost like my brain just kind of thinks in comic relief. And I think once you really get that this universe really is all oneness, and when it really actually is just kind of holographical, you're kind of like, this actually is quite funny.
Right. And then you remember, and I designed it all, and you can kind of laugh about that too,
You're like,
right?
shit, I designed some
Like,
of this.
oh dang, yeah. Now I know why I chose my parents. I get it.
Right?
Right?
yes,
Yeah.
it's important that we laugh up. Do you remember how intense I was? Yes, was crazy. And
Yeah.
because we didn't know better. My family was like, no, you need to take everything. You are with me or against me. Oh my God, how
Yeah.
intense is that? So
For us, one of the biggest educational moments was when we started learning about energy and vibration. And in fact, that's how we begin. The book is with a quote from Nikola Tesla that says, "You really want to get down to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency." So laughter is a frequency. And
Sure.
the moment you understand, right, and really, again, it's not about enlightenment, or it's not about being on the high level only. It's understanding that it's like a staircase and you can move up and down. And if you're aware of that, then you can say, today I need to be sad. I feel like I need to allow the sadness to go through me because I'm experiencing whatever. But then you can also make a conscious choice of saying, and today I choose to be neutral, or today I choose to laugh it out loud.
Yeah.
That's why, for example, one of the chapters in the book is about dancing.
Yep.
And only dancing. And one of the women in the book had a relationship with dancing in her early ages, in her adolescence. And so but it was about connecting with that one thing that we all have it, right? We all had that one thing that we were kids that just drove us crazy because we loved it and maybe moved away from it.
Sure.
So it's how do you find those opportunities to start vibrating just
Yeah.
higher, but also understand that you can move through those vibrations at your wish and command.
Oh,
Yeah.
someone wrote, I started this day with low energy. After listening to this, I am charged and ready. Thank you, Rocio Angel, Jonathan Leonka. Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Thank
it's
you.
Joe. Thank you.
Yeah.
And some other comments like that laughter is truly so healing and the best medicine. Thank you, Dana. And then Manisha said, thank you. The orchid is available here in London on Amazon. I love the name. I have many orchid plants and my favorite flower, the flowers are blooming. In fact, it was my wedding flower. So I love the orchid. Yes, yes. And it was the green one. It was so fun.
So listen to this, because when we chose the orchid, we chose it because this was really about feminine energy, right?
Yes.
And the orchid has 30,000 different plants. They're all, one is more beautiful than the other, right? They're all spectacular.
Yes.
So later we found out, and actually through another conversation, that orchis in Greek means testicles. So in essence, the orchid is actually a recognition of both the male and the female.
Interesting.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely fantastic. It's
Yes.
just
Yeah.
really, I didn't know, and it's fascinating that it represents us both.
Yeah.
And of course, divinely guided, right? I love how that synchronicity happens.
So is there a future vision where you want to have a retreat center called the Orchid?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, we love. Look, it's important to put out there visions
Sure.
of us, the collective consciousness winning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Collective consciousness free us ourselves. We need to imagine
Yes.
really a society that we are happy, with a lot of light, with a lot of flowers, when we are thriving. So, of course, this is a first book, but it's all about to create a beautiful space, safe space, that you can go there and really expand your being in all different ways. So, of course, we want to create a school, a place to do it in many parts, in every city in the world is needed.
Yeah.
Because if we are doing it faster, then we can really do this to the situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need to work together to spread the word. And it's like with your podcast, if you are a mom and you, Joey, thank you so much for being so active in this call. And everyone is part of this really collective consciousness. So if we help to bring the vibration to everyone to the top, come on, we're gonna have a lot of fun for the next 60 years.
And
Love it.
I would love to add, we have to really be conscious of this. The odds are not even. There's no comparison of what love can accomplish.
I gotcha.
You are in love. So we think when there used to be a David Hawkins, it's a very fantastic, if you haven't read about him, obviously read about him.
Most people.
He would say that one enlightened individual vibrating at the highest frequency can compensate the negative impact of 250 million people on the lower end of that spectrum. So think of how powerful it is when you are indeed in that place.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's really, that's what we want. And so, yes, we are hoping. The book was just going to be a book. And so many people have said, I want this place to exist. That I have no doubt that the universe really is going to honor us with this place existing. And hopefully it will be in every continent of the world, if not every major place in the world.
That's
And
fabulous.
to take that even further, in the Bible, it says where two or more are gathered. Imagine those numbers that David Hawking, and then you multiply that by each other, right? By the love that we hold for each other. And as we do that, we raise the vibration 10, 20 millions fold, right?
Yeah, and all of us
Yes.
others that are, hands-on workers that want to have retreats, we could do it at your center and things like that.
Yeah.
Which would be, wouldn't it be nice to have all this beauty around us to, instead of doing it at like a hotel or something stupid like we do.
For sure, no,
I
absolutely.
agree.
And look, and for those who, until we get to that point,
Sure.
the book is really put together in such a way that you can go there.
That's what I was
Because the
thinking.
most important thing, the sacred and most sacred place in the world in which you're gonna find that growth and that expansion is inside of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you do, oh my gosh, my hair stand up. When you do, we're there with you because we're connected in ways.
You're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
And
How exciting.
we are invited everyone to go to this beautiful spa when they read the novel.
Yes. Yeah.
So take it with you like, okay, I'm gonna do a retreat. Bye. I'm gonna take this time for me because you know what? You are the most important person in the whole world. And we want you see you success. No, how you say it? Your success.
We want to see your success. We want to see you successful. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. One of the other things before we get going is this is it really serves as an invitation for others too. So as I was reading this book, and there's a lot of friends that I have that that maybe they know what I do, but they kind of don't, right? They're like, oh, you kind of do that weird stuff. Right? But they have they've expressed some interest and they're kind of curious. This is a beautiful way to introduce them and invite them in without being like, hey, I've made this for you. This is just, it has its own way of reaching someone and inviting them in.
It's meant to be very respectful. It's loving. And Lianka, thank you for saying that. We have friends who are therapists and psychologists who are giving it to their students so that it softens the conversations. And in fact, we're finding that now they understand what they've been, kind of working. So absolutely, highly recommended for that reason as well.
Wow, thank you for creating this for the world. It's really beautiful. Any last words?
For the audience.
I did want to let you guys know the link is in the chat. It will be in the show notes. It'll be in the YouTube. It'll be in the newsletter.
Yes.
So whenever you see something about this interview, even on Instagram, there will be a link nearby.
I don't know. Yes, say.
Go.
No, you go.
I'm going to read, as my last words, I'm going to read the dedication in the book.
Oh, fabulous.
And it says, to all who journey through these pages, may you be inspired to rewrite your own narrative and live a life of love, free of limitations, and enriched by the knowledge that you are powerful beyond.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, this was inspiring, and thank you. And I mean, thank you for putting your heart and soul and tears and everything in this beautiful, beautiful book. It even has a map on the retreat center, and I just think it's pretty freaking spectacular in comparison. Sometimes we get these like little books, and it's
beautiful. It's really well done.
It's just
Thank you.
So beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Again. Yes.
Please, anytime. I will really love the audience to to connect with us and let us know what you think. And if you like it and we want to spread, really help us. Help us, please, to spread the word to more people to understand how important is for them to be okay,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
great,
To vibrate in the highest energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
and understand this knowledge that is incredible.
Yeah. Like buy a book for a friend who
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
read them together. We have
Yeah.
families
Yes.
who are
Go on the
reading
journey.
together. There's so much generational trauma that it's trapped in all of us, right? And different. So if you place it, it's almost like you're placing a light bulb in different places
Yes.
and they all light up. Imagine the power when a family awakens together or where
Yeah.
friends begin having these conversations.
Absolutely.
You guys,
Bless you
thank you
both.
for your space.
Thank you so much.
For existing. Thank you for your smiles, for what you do together. It's magical.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Likewise. Thank
And,
you.
Yeah. Namaste.
Ah,
All right, you guys, we have a couple quick announcements.
Yeah. It's
Go ahead.
Tuesday. Please join us for a very unique conversation. It's Earth Day, and I wanted to set that little space aside for a really unique journey where I'm going to share where Lianka and I were, even like back in the day when we first started,
Yeah.
and she was wearing a basketball in the middle of it.
She means I was pregnant. That's true, though. I was huge. We had fun, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is this joke on, wow, the buffet must have been really good. You ate a basketball. So if you just want to play in our journey together and our journey and growth, we're going to do a special conversation about that on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we're bringing back one of my friends that I met in 2017 named Holly. She goes by Anahata, and she has just some really cool work that she does with sacred geometry and beyonds. So please come and join us for that conversation.
Yeah, we always want to remind you that we, believe in giving back. So we partner with riseitup.org. It's started by children who take laptops and tablets and they refurbish those and hand them to other students in need for use in wellness and education. So that's always fun. And then we also wanted to remind you that, every time that you have any questions or any information that you would like to know, we'll talk about the Mystique. And if you want to get any of our information, you can always do so by joining our newsletter. So that's at www.houthustle.com. Or you can email us too with any of your questions. We love your feedback at team@houthustle.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you are interested in frequencies and some of the frequencies that we listen to while we're reading books, we have 2 programs out there. You can see it on our main website and in our newsletter right away. It's one's on just Hertz frequencies where you go into different brainwave states, and the other one is on chakras. They're both highly reduced. We had a sound engineer do it, but we thought it would be valuable for everyone to have it as a show enhancer.
That's
so
right.
You can look for that.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We always like to have the comments. And of course, the more that you share, the more that we can help change this world. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a great Easter weekend. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.